Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating exploration. We're going into the structures we can't see.
The invisible framework.
Exactly. Moving totally beyond the visible anatomy of, muscle and bone to look at the energy anatomy that fundamentally determines our physical health.
And our emotional resilience. I mean, really how we live our day-to-day lives.
We've basically been handed a roadmap. It's a phenomenal stack of sources from the research of a world-renowned medical intuitive who spent decades, literally decades, perceiving illnesses and tracking their hidden energetic causes.
Right.
So our mission for this deep dive is to take her highly specific, data-rich findings and really unpack this core concept of energy anatomy. How do we unconsciously leak our vital life force, our spirit, and what are the specific practical steps we can take to get it back? And it's all organized by the chakra system, which is just a perfect model for this.
And what makes this so compelling, I think, especially for anyone who appreciates precision, is that it avoids treating these, complex spiritual concepts as vague philosophy.
It's not abstract at all.
Not at all. It grounds them in a metaphor that is, that's universally understood. It's finance.
Right.
This research views your life force, your prana, as a daily, measurable financial investment. This concept of the $100 daily budget, that's the key nugget. It's what makes this knowledge an actual tool for self-mastery.
So let's establish the foundation here. The source material explains that this intuitive skill wasn't like a sudden dramatic awakening. It evolved pretty naturally from a very unique background.
Yeah, an education over nearly 3 decades, heavily influenced by theology, nuns, priests.
And she says the extraordinary became ordinary.
Exactly. And that environment fostered this incredibly specific kind of attunement. She wasn't dealing in, fuzzy feelings or generalities.
Yeah.
She was picking up specific, verifiable physical data. For example, she could see the precise energetic stress pattern that meant a person was developing, say, a bladder infection.
Weeks before they had symptoms.
Weeks before, or a kidney stone. For her, that insight was just normal. So the how was less important than the what. And the what was seeing exactly where people were unconsciously bleeding out their spirit.
Which would inevitably lead to the physical body breaking down.
Inevitably.
And at first, she was doing these huge workshops, giving individual readings, but the sources point to this critical pivot in her focus after an interaction with a participant who basically said, I paid my money, you tell me what's wrong with me.
And that was the catalyst, that moment.
Yeah.
She had this crucial realization that just doing a reading, giving a temporary diagnosis, that wasn't true service. It didn't empower people.
It just creates dependency.
It creates dependency. The better, more enduring service was teaching people how to do this evaluation for themselves. The mission shifted to training people to recognize, in an instant, when they hit a power-leaking spot.
To identify the target of the leakage, and then, most importantly, know the steps to plug it up and call that energy home.
And that's what led directly to this whole energetic financial model.
Which brings us to the core principle, the investment metaphor, this $100 daily budget. Can you break down the sort of physics behind that?
Sure. The core idea is that the circuits of high voltage energy, call it prana, life force, spirit, whatever you want, they come into the body through the crown chakra, top of the head, every single morning.
A fresh allocation for the day.
A fresh allocation. Metaphorically, it's valued at $100. And the intuitive argues that the whole purpose of incarnation isn't about some external goal. It's about learning the wise distribution of this energy.
You're an energetic banker.
You're an energetic banker, and you have to decide where to invest that $100.
So we're explicitly tracking returns on investment, ROI. What's a wise investment in this system?
A wise investment means consciously plugging your energy and your attention into positive, present-time circumstances. Creative thoughts, supportive relationships, actions aligned with your purpose.
Right.
These things yield high-interest returns back into your system. They create this internal compounding effect. You feel stronger, healthier.
And the opposite, investing in negative stuff.
That's where you start building energetic debt, dwelling on old grudges, self-pity, fear.
And this debt is where the crisis starts, because that $100 is suddenly not enough. If I'm assigning, say, $20 to an old boss I hated, $45 to a childhood thing, another $60 to worrying about the future.
You're already $25 in debt before you even interact with the present moment.
Exactly.
And when the system is running on that deficit, it goes into survival mode. It has to finance that debt. And since the initial money is gone, it has to take a loan. The research identifies two critical places it borrows from.
And the first one is, it's the most physically immediate, and frankly, it's pretty alarming.
It is the ultimate energetic cost. The system has to take a loan from your own cell tissue.
Wow.
It borrows from your physical stored reserves. And this is the direct energetic cause of aging.
So when people say someone aged overnight after a trauma,
That's not just a figure of speech. It is the physical manifestation of pulling life force out of your cellular reserves to pay for immediate energetic debt. This is why keeping your energy in the present time is the #1 way to slow the physical aging process.
that's a huge trade-off. You're trading your current vitality to finance the past.
And that leads to the second place the system borrows from, which is insidious,
Right.
because it usually involves other people.
Right.
The second option is borrowing from other people's energy. This is where an individual develops a parasitical sense. When you're constantly in debt and you feel empty, you start unconsciously grasping for external energy.
Through dependency addiction.
Exactly. Or just demanding attention and emotional support from others. You might not know why you need that relationship or that addiction, but it's often this desperate attempt to get external energy to fill that internal debt.
And this buildup of deficit and borrowing, that's what pushes the body toward being vulnerable.
Absolutely. The constant running out of energy compromises your protective field. At some point, that deficit translates directly into the formation of an illness. The illness is often just the physical sign of long-term energetic bankruptcy.
Okay, let's unpack this with some specific examples of where this leakage happens, because, I mean, everyone listening has done this today. The sources were very clear. The single most popular place for us to leak our energy is into the past.
The past is an astronomical power suck. I mean, partly because it's so familiar, right? It feels comfortable.
Yeah.
And it includes all those seemingly minor things, the criticism your parent made when you were 10, the pain from an old breakup, the injustice you felt at a previous job. We decide unconsciously what percentage of our $100 is going to keep in that history alive.
And this calculation happens during what the source calls the morning distribution phase.
Yes, this is a critical insight. Every morning, while you are in that low awareness routine, showering, getting dressed, making coffee, you are unconsciously going through this distribution phase.
You're assigning percentages.
You are literally taking that fresh $100 and assigning percentages. You might send $20 to replaying a childhood trauma, $30 to the anger you still feel for an ex-partner, and maybe, critically, $115 to the resentment of how you were treated in your last job.
And that example is so potent because that puts you $65 in debt before you even walk into your current workplace.
You are functionally bankrupt before 9 a.m. You have no capital left to engage with the reality of the day.
And that debt directly suffocates your creative potential.
It absolutely does. The research makes a crucial distinction here. Hearing an inspiration, the angel whispers, it's time to start that new business. That requires very little energy. It's a free thought.
But action requires massive sustained energy.
Precisely. To bring that thought into physical incarnated form, to actually register the business, to take the risk, that might require a dedicated investment of, say, $80 of your energy budget per day for a year.
And if you're running that high debt from finance in the past,
you cannot possibly allocate the $80 needed for action.
So the result is a life filled with should-haves and regret.
Absolutely. The inspiration just stays a wish. You spend your life regretting what you never attempted simply because you used all your available cash to finance things that are already over.
So if debt is leakage, what does healing really mean in this context?
Healing is the process of retrieval. It is consciously returning those energy circuits into your physical body. It's recalling your spirit, unplugging that precious daily allocation from the trauma and bringing it back home.
And the experience of this is physically verifiable. It's not just an idea.
No, it is a literal phenomenon. When you achieve true forgiveness, or you finally let go of a heavy burden, the intuitive observe that people feel unbelievably ecstatic and literally lighter.
It's not just a phrase.
Not at all. That act of forgiveness breaks the energetic connection. The circuit snaps back and the energy returns to your system. This pays back the loan from your cell tissue, making you more vibrant, less tired, and fundamentally healthier. But while the mechanics sound straightforward, unplug, recall, reinvest, the psychological and social resistance to healing is maybe the biggest barrier.
Right.
The source notes this historical shift. In the early 80s, people took a kind of pride in their illness. I manifested this. By the late 80s, the mood was deep frustration. Why am I not healing? I've done all the work.
And the diagnosis was that sometimes we're fundamentally scared of healing because it means dismantling these social safety nets we've built on our suffering.
Precisely. It's terrifying because it means giving up social power structures and in that deep, comfortable security that dependent relationships give us. We find comfort in shared misery.
Which brings us to the most dominant structure for this, what the source calls the wound mate phenomenon. This is fascinating.
It's an evolution of security. Earlier bonds were based on surface things. We live in the same town, we eat the same food.
Right.
But modern, powerful connections are built on shared deficit. You bond not on what you have in common, but on the similar ways you've been hurt.
So it's like a formalized ritual.
Totally. The ritual starts when one person shares a small, manageable wound. It doesn't have to be huge. Maybe, my mother always worked, and I never got those special birthday donuts.
Okay.
The potential wound mate immediately does an internal search. You go right to their first chakra file, their survival wound databank, and they look for a parallel symmetrical wound. I never got cupcakes.
The symmetry validates the bond, and then what?
Once that bond is set through shared pain, an unspoken archetypal union forms. It creates rules and obligations. If one wound mate calls up and says, I'm having a donut flashback, the other automatically knows the rule.
Drop everything.
Drop everything, work, family, sleep, and run immediately to provide support and validate that pain.
The security in that must feel immense, even if it's built on, a shaky foundation.
It offers intense security and loyalty. The paradox is, if I heal my donut wound, the foundation of our bond evaporates. I'm threatening the whole system.
So the resistance to healing becomes logical.
It makes perfect sense. Why would I give up this deep sense of security, this guaranteed loyalty for the abstraction of health? That $65 debt feels less scary than facing the world alone.
And this directly challenges that romantic idea that people who share wounds are soulmates.
It does. The source material actively argues against the idea that two people with parallel traumas are soulmates. It argues that the true soulmate, the one who facilitates your most profound spiritual expansion, is the person who has caused you the most pain.
That is a powerful and pretty controversial idea. Why is that?
Because real soul expansion isn't achieved through comfort or validation. It's achieved when your familiar emotional architecture is shattered, forcing you to find resources you never knew you had. The person who causes you the most pain forces you to confront your shadow, teaches you radical self-forgiveness, and compels you to find your power outside of them. They are the catalyst for the greatest debt payoff and the largest return on spiritual investment, even if it's awful at the time.
Beyond social pressure, there's also internal resistance, which the source links to a crisis of willpower. If our energy circuits are out there financing a negative belief, why can't we just tell them to come back?
Because of a weak will. Willpower is the ability to command your own energy. If your will is untrained when you consciously say, energy, come back, the energy circuit is basically allowed to respond, are you talking to me? Because I'm on my own out here.
Ha!
This lack of focus, this inability to enforce self-control is why people get stuck. They just don't have the internal muscle to demand their resources return home.
So now we can use the chakra system as a map for this whole energetic accounting, and the source is clear. These are 7 interconnected data banks, as specific and integrated as our physical anatomy.
And we have to remember the caveat. It's a whole system. Illness is rarely in just one spot. But the data overwhelmingly shows that most illness develops from sustained energy loss below the waist.
The first 3 chakras, the survival centers.
Exactly. The foundations of our $100 budget. Let's start at the base.
Okay, chakra 1, the tribal belief center. This is the foundation of physical survival. It runs our immune system.
Our protective, energetic field.
And it's where we store all those inherited beliefs. Religious traditions, ethnic heritage, prejudices, superstitions, like walking under a ladder. It teaches loyalty and groundedness.
And the primary leakage here shows up as vulnerability in the immune system. The anecdote about the Puerto Rican psychologist is perfect. She had a deep cultural belief in the evil eye. When she believed she'd been cursed, she instantly leaked all her energy to that fear. Her circuits started firing erratically and her immune system crashed. She almost ended up in the hospital.
Which shows exactly why you can't just reason with this center. You can't just tell yourself, don't believe in the evil eye.
Exactly. The first chakra is primal, tribal fear. It operates below the rational mind. So to heal, you can't just fight the negative memory. You have to replace the financing of the old pattern with the financing of a new one.
So the practice is about visualization and substitution.
Yes. You start by consciously visualizing the life you want now, a new roadmap, fully financed with your daily budget. You consciously choose to stop funding negative family memories. You have to break the word habit and the thought habit that keeps the leak going. Moving up, the second chakra, control and power. This is the center of raw physical power in the external world.
And it deals with all one-to-one relationships, from your partner to the person at the grocery store.
And crucially, it governs control, sex, and money. It's the territorial center, the center of weaponry.
And that need to control others is a huge energy drain. When you feel you have to control someone, you are discharging energy that literally penetrates their system.
It creates instant energetic warfare. That discharge is like an invisible weapon, which is why relationships based on control are so exhausting. Both people are constantly draining power and defending themselves.
And let's pause on the money metaphor here because it's so literal. The sources say your financial assets are not in the bank. They're in your lower back.
This is one of the biggest aha moments in the source material. Your money, your ability to handle it, the power you have over your resources. It's all archived in your lower back.
So when you have a major financial betrayal, like a partner drains your account, you feel stabbed in the back.
Because your survival center has been compromised. It's way more than a social slight.
And the health consequences of prolonged stress here.
The stress from relationship heartaches, power struggles, financial worry, it all combines with physical stress and locates disease in the colon, the sexual organs, or it causes chronic lower back pain.
And we can't skip over the cost of addiction in this center.
Addictions, emotional, chemical, whatever, are incredibly expensive energetic habits. They create this constant, desperate need for external fulfillment, which instantly drains power from the system. The healing here is realizing that positive power empowering others is the true path. When you genuinely reinforce someone else's belief, you transfer prana to them, which reinforces your own power center. It's a healthy return.
The third chakra, personal power. This acts as the bridge between survival and the heart.
Right. This is the seat of self-esteem, confidence, physical body image, endurance. And it comes before the heart because it requires you to take responsibility for your physical life, to have a personal honor code.
And this is where we see that intense connection to pancreatic disorders.
The source specifically links illnesses like diabetes and pancreatic cancer to issues of extreme responsibility. It can go two ways. Either you're trying to be responsible for everyone, the martyr pattern, or you're refusing all responsibility for your own life. That unsustainable stress load is carried by the pancreas.
And energy leakage here is often more subtle through things like private agendas.
Yeah, leakage is caused by seeking approval from others. Private agendas are toxic because you do a favor, not from generosity, but to put a hook in the other person's mouth, expecting a specific return.
Like the woman who brought lunch.
Exactly. She wasn't being kind. She was bringing lunch to get a reading. When the intuitive didn't follow her hidden agenda, the woman had an immediate energetic crash. She was operating from a manipulative, self-centered place.
That kind of energy use has to just deplete your endurance.
It does. And finally, this is the center of your survival intuition, your hunch. And the negative pattern, fueled by low self-esteem, is that you only follow that gut feeling after a crisis.
The woe path.
The woe path. You feel the initial uncomfortable hit, I need to leave this job, but you don't have the courage to act. You wait until external circumstances force the change, which is always more painful and costly than following the initial guidance, the wisdom path.
Now we cross the energetic midline and get to the heart, the fourth chakra, which the source material calls mission control.
And it's essential because the mind, for all its planning, cannot successfully push a project forward unless the heart is truly in it.
This center is about harmony, compassion, and love. And at its core is the most critical process for retrieval: forgiveness.
Absolutely. The sources are so clear on this. Healing is the journey of forgiveness.
And the clarification on what forgiveness is so radical. It's not a favor you do for the person who wronged you.
Not even close. Forgiveness is described as the most selfish thing you will ever do.
Wow.
It is a radical act of self-love. It means prioritizing your present and future over your past. It means giving up the illusion that things should have been different and consciously, selfishly unplugging your energy circuits from a painful memory because you are just tired of financing it.
The cost unforgiveness, then, is staggering. You're constantly sending energy to the past, making history feel more real than right now.
Completely. The unforgiving person is running backwards. The angel sets up a perfect opportunity for a new relationship. You walk in, and you instantly project your past trauma onto the new person. You decide they're just like the old trauma, and you sabotage it. You're choosing history over possibility.
And this shift is also marked by a huge change in how we relate to the word self.
Below the waist, in the survival centers, self is often linked with selfish, self-pity.
Right.
Once you move into the heart and above, the focus shifts entirely to positive construction, self-development, self-fulfillment, self-love.
Right.
It's a mature understanding that prioritizing the health of your spiritual vehicle is the highest form of service.
And the source says that when someone commits to moving from a tribal heart, a heart managed by family expectations, to their own heart, the results are physically disruptive.
The spiritual shift demands physical reflection. If you've been living your life based on the tribe's expectations, when you truly commit to self-love, you have to physically change everything.
Location, jobs, relationships.
Everything. Even your physical look. Anything you build before that core commitment to your authentic self will not survive the transition. It's an initiation, a necessary upheaval.
And finally, let's talk about the mature expression of love here. Compassion. And the source has a fascinating definition of it.
Yeah, mature compassion requires high emotional maturity. It means loving someone enough to let them suffer if that is what their soul needs for essential learning.
So it's not about being cold, it's about respecting their journey.
Exactly. Immature love rushes to bandage every wound. You swoop in, solve the problem, prevent the discomfort. But if you bandage the wound too quickly, the person doesn't integrate the lesson, and they'll just create the same wound again moments later. Mature love is strong enough to allow the other person the dignity of their own learning process, even if it involves pain. So once we've crossed the bridge of the heart, we enter the internal reality of managing consciousness, choice, and our connection to the divine. The challenges here shift from external survival to internal spiritual alignment.
The fifth chakra, the center of will, the throat. This is willpower, choice, the mechanism we use to direct our energy circuits. But as we said, the development of will is poor in modern society.
And if the will is weak, it can't command the circuits to return. The source distinguishes between two forms of will. Our Willpower 101 is the tribal definition. Controlling others, making people do what we want, that low-level will is totally useless for healing.
And the physical symptoms here are a direct sign of inner conflict, feeling choked up.
It's a deliberate, unconscious act to prevent the heart's perception, which often demands a frightening change from reaching the logical mind. If the heart's wisdom gets to the mind, a choice has to be made, and that choice is terrifying. So the physical blockage prevents that commitment.
So true will is entirely focused inward.
True will is self-control, not control over others. And training the will is demanding. You have to prove to your energy circuits that you are in charge. The source uses the example of the Danish prostitute with AIDS who wanted to heal but was addicted to nicotine. Her mind chose healing, but her circuits kept going to the cigarette because she spent a lifetime giving her will to others. She had to deliberately enter that struggle and endure the pain to prove her will was sovereign.
And the final, ultimate stage of will is, paradoxically, surrender.
Yes, the spiritual moment of saying, not my will, but thine. But the sequence is critical. You cannot surrender a will you haven't mastered. You have to go through the long, difficult journey of learning self-control before you can truly and safely surrender that mastered will to the divine. Next, Chakra 6, Reality Headquarters. The third eye, the mind, intellect, reasoning, and the management of illusions. We leak so much energy here because the rational mind requires logical answers before it will let us move on.
Right, the classic stall. I'll forgive them, but only after I figure out why that happened to me.
The mind demands a comprehensive logical answer, one that usually absolves the self of fault before it will relinquish the debt. And the mind has this deeply superstitious function. It holds on to past grief because it illogically believes that if I hold on to yesterday's pain, I won't get any new pain tomorrow.
So the mind becomes the jailer.
Constantly supplying self-righteous reasons why forgiveness is a bad idea, keeping the whole system locked in debt.
So the process of healing often requires dismantling the rational mind, embracing the illogical.
Absolutely. The system is designed to teach us that guidance from the heavens is always illogical and paradoxical. What looks big is often small. What seems small holds the greatest energetic weight. Healing requires the humility to accept irrational acts and to follow synchronicity.
So coincidences are messages.
They are the divine communicating with you. And the sources give this great test. When the gods offer you a choice, they always give you one with risk and one that seems safe. The instruction is clear. You should always take the high risk, the road of faith.
Because what matters is the reason for the choice, not the road itself.
Exactly. If you chose safety, you chose no faith. If you chose risk, you chose faith, and help will appear out of nowhere to support you.
And finally, the highest center, the crown chakra. I love this name. The Grace Bank account. This is where we store prayers, receive grace, and it's the entry point for prana. It deals with faith crises and finding our true purpose.
And the Source makes this funny distinction about purpose. When we ask our purpose questions from the lower chakras, what should I do with my life? The angels are like indifferent, flipping through files.
Yeah.
But when you ask from the purified crown chakra, what am I here for? How can I serve? The response is immediate.
And that response is often disruptive.
Because the angel has to prepare your physical vehicle for the higher energy you just asked for. So your angel immediately starts arranging disruptive events, getting you fired, changing your relationships, forcing a move.
It's not punishment.
No, it's preparation. It's designed to force ascension so you can handle the higher voltage you requested.
Living without faith must be the most expensive energetic habit of all.
It's described as the worst experience possible. Without faith, all your energy circuits just fall right out. They have no direction. And if you don't actively cultivate positive faith, you automatically channel your energy into negative faith, the certainty that there is no positive outcome, which is hugely damaging.
So we have to evolve our concept of prayer beyond what the Source calls the stuffology school of prayer.
We have to move beyond praying for more stuff or for protecting our stuff. We need to cultivate prayer consciousness. Conscious, honest contact with the divine. It means moving to gratitude, thanking the divine for the lessons, even the painful ones, and for showing you where you need to reconcentrate your spirit.
And this full integration leads back to being in the present time.
Mystics and powerful healers manifest instantly because they have zero circuits left in the past. They are fully present. They are a clear vehicle for the divine, which is a present-time force. Their words have clean electricity because their spirit is whole, not scattered across the history books.
Okay, so this brings us to the ultimate practical application. The key to maintaining health, to keeping that $100 budget out of debt, is performing a short, truthful, daily personal inventory.
Right, a conscious self-evaluation to figure out exactly where you left your spirit that day.
And the Source provides the perfect structure for this, the 7 Sacred Truths framework. It's a rapid-fire check for leakage from the bottom up.
Okay, number 1.
All is one, chakra 1. You start by checking for involvement in tribal warfare. Did you spend energy on prejudice, hostility towards a group, negative group energy?
2. Honor one another, chakra 2. Did you lose energy over money worries, the need to control, vengeance, or envy? You have to assess the cost of those toxic habits. And are you uncomfortable receiving silk-positive energy, compliments, because you're too used to relational negativity?
3. Honor oneself. Chakra 3. This is the integrity check. Did you fail to keep your word to yourself? Did you engage in self-criticism? Did you compromise your honor code for a temporary gain?
4. Love is divine power. Chakra 4. Are you dwelling on heartaches? Are you consciously refusing to forgive someone because it gets you sympathy? You have to consciously unplug those cords.
5. Surrender personal will to the divine, chakra 5. Check for conditional surrender. Are you praying with a private agenda, basically telling God what the outcome has to be? The active practice here, you have to say it out loud. I'm calling my spirit back now.
6. Seek only truth, chakra 6. Are you clinging to a tiny reality or demanding a logic before moving forward? Are you judging others harshly, blocking new ideas because they feel unsafe? You have to check the speed of change you're allowing.
And 7. Live in the present moment, chakra 7. Finally, you evaluate what form of the past you're still holding on to, even from 2 hours ago. Let it go. Then, to confirm you're aligned, you ask, did anything synchronistic happen to me today? This simple question forces you into conscious awareness.
This entire framework, the daily budget, the chakra anatomy, the cost of debt, it all reinforces the ultimate belief system from these sources. The only real meaning, the only true return on investment for this life is spiritual development.
That's it.
There is no other primary meaning. Everything else is just secondary raw material. The next stage of human evolution requires nothing less than merging that spiritual path and the physical body into simultaneous conscious harmony.
It is a fundamentally liberating idea, if a challenging one, that every setback, every source of pain, every trauma is just raw material, not debt, designed solely for growth.
Mm.
The liberation comes when you commit to that road of faith, choosing risk over safety, knowing that the divine is not deaf and that everything happening in your life is for the purpose of your greatest expansion. As we conclude this deep dive, let's just integrate this knowledge with a unifying mantra, ensuring that the spirit we've recalled here is grounded from our crown down to our very living essence. God be in my head and in my understanding. God be in my heart and in my loving. God be in my lungs and in my breathing. God be in my joints and in my relating. God be in my blood and in my living. God be at my end and at my reviving.
Beautiful.
Thank you for sharing your sources and your time with us for this deep dive. We'll talk to you next time.